know we don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Beat it.
With talking about resilience and all, because we've talked about that a zillion times in the past. It builds resilience, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's a very obvious reason too, other than the fact that, a lot of people will think that they're good. They say, I'm good, man. I'm good with my legs. I'm totally good. Don't worry about them. Seriously, just look at my biceps. Like, let's just work up top. I'm like, I get it. But strength training is going to expose your muscles to a very different type of adaptation. And you want that strength. As a runner, you should want that. You should be coming in here, instead of thinking about upper body, go, I'm a runner. I run a lot. But I would love to strengthen my legs here in strength training, because that's going to get me to run even better with more resilience, right? So my joints won't hurt. My muscles aren't going to bother me. Like all these different things that come up.
Hey, welcome back to the BentOnBetter podcast. You are joined by Nick, April, and me, Matt. We are Nick. Well, hey, Nick. Hey, how was your weekend? How was your
fantastic?
How was your weekend?
Very good. I did not run a half marathon.
That's where we're going.
That's where
we're going right away.
Didn't do this weekend. But why don't you tell me about your weekend? Because you, as I heard, not only did you have a birthday.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
You also ran a half marathon.
I did.
But you had a very interesting half marathon. It wasn't just like a start to finish half marathon. You had like kind of a weird one, right?
Yeah, really weird. Well, okay, so did you have a good weekend?
We're going back. Yeah, I did. I had a great.
Did you have a good week prior?
Yes, I did.
Give me one win. Let's give me one win. Personal win.
So I've been doing this new training regimen from not too long ago. I was StrongFirst certified in Kettlebell.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot of really cool tricks while I was doing this certification. And one of these training regimens that I took from that was a program that involves swinging the kettlebell and doing some get-ups right after that, some Turkish get-ups. And it's okay if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, no worries. But the cool thing is this training regimen it translates into so many different areas of my life. I feel so much stronger right after I do it. I feel energized. It doesn't put me, out for the rest of the day. And guess what, dude? I only spend 16 minutes doing it. It takes me 16 minutes to do this regimen. So a big win for me has just been like, I've been doing this program very regularly now that I am just like, I don't know. I just have this new like refreshed feel all the time. It's making me feel really good. It's boosting my spirits, boosting my physical, like everything just feels great.
Good, man.
Yeah, dude.
Well, so then in terms of my weekend and my past week, so the past week was really busy because I knew I was taking the weekend off. And I like to operate with more intention now. I actually shared this on one of my social media posts. So if you follow me on social media or on Instagram, it's for everybody who's listening in. I think most of our members follow. If they have Instagram, they're probably or connected on there in some way. But if not, like Instagram, Facebook, like let's get connected, because I shared something that my mentor encouraged me to say when we were going through the rounds of like, what are your biggest wins? So what are you working on? What are you trying to improve in your life? Excuse me. And he came to me and he was like, Matt, what are you working on? What's your big win? I was like, well, my big win is that I've now finally gotten to a point in my life where I'm starting to prioritize myself a little more and take more time with my family. Like that's what's most important to me, is spending time with my kids and with Lynn. And like for the past 6, almost 7 years, I have been like bending over backwards and like figuring out every possible way to always be here in like either in like physically here at BOB, or like here as in like working from home and getting things done so we can continue to move forward and provide the amazing experience that we have. We are the best training facility, period. Best training facility, period. Especially in Westchester and Chester County. Like we are the best training facility in the entire Chester County, Westchester area.
You're not just making that up, right? You're not just pulling it out of thin air.
Like, no.
Who gave
us
that
awards?
title?
Like we've won awards, and like we are. All of our members have said we are. Everyone who's come through has said we are. Like that's where we are. So anyway, I finally took time, and I've now 3 days a week I'm home for dinner, which is incredible because before that it was like once in a while here and there I'd be home for dinner, like maybe on a Sunday. Yeah. But like now it's like usually once during the week and then the 2 days on the weekend. It's great. And eventually I'd like to add more to it, but for right now, that's my big win. But then the other win was this weekend, I ran another half marathon. So my second half marathon in a month. So in 1 month's time, 1 month and like 3 days, I ran 2 half marathons. And for everyone who's listening, I know a lot of our members know this about me, but I'm very much a lifter, a strength training, powerlifting kind of guy, and running has never been my my interest. We ran, you know this. We ran in high school. Like I was a sprinter.
Well, it's important to clarify
yeah,
that. Sprinting versus long distance.
Versus long distance. And for me, sprinting was like the 100 meter, the 200 meter. And when the coach would be like, all right, time to do 300, I'd be like, whoa, I'm not doing long distance. Like, whoa, 400. No, whoa, that's long distance. Like I'm not even going to dabble. And I would fight it. Like I would fight it, dude. What's the term? Tooth and nail. Like I would fight whatever that term is. I would fight that way. Like whatever that was. And but I finally decided that like now in my mid 30s, I am in a place where I want to relate better with our members, because a lot of our members a lot of them are over 50 and who have had years of experience with running. They've been like longtime runners, and they've done 5Ks and 10 miles and half marathons, and even some marathoners, and even some beyond that, but like in previous lives, right? Like before they've gotten to where they are now. And a lot of them come in here and they're saying like, oh my gosh, like my knees, oh my gosh, my ankles, oh my gosh, my back. Everything is painful. Everything has a problem. Everything has an issue. And so thankfully we're able to serve those people really well because where we specialize, but I never could really relate. I could understand, but I could never relate. Yeah. And I could get to that place of like in a conversation where like I know like, okay, your knee's having pain because you're moving in this specific plane and you're moving through this area, and your hips and is out of line with your squats, and your glutes aren't strong enough, they're not firing.
And you can make it very granular.
Yeah, you can totally figure it out, right? Especially having been like a trainer, like a personal trainer, and in the fitness industry for like a decade now. You just know. You see people and you just know, especially when you see them move. Like when you can see their movement, then you know that that's going on. But I did it to relate, and I also did it because I wanted something new to work toward. So last in winter, this past winter, like 2021, I decided I was gonna like start running. So I started like just one mile once or twice a week, 2 miles once or twice a week. And then I decided, you know what, I should just go for something big. And I was like, all right, I'm doing a half marathon. And I just decided I think I committed to that thought in April of 2021. And then at that point, I just started running. Like, I would just run like 2 days a week, 3 days a week, still prioritizing strength training. And so I'll take you back. Like there's sort of like my Instagram stories. If you look through my Instagram, there's like a whole journey of like, I called it a journey to 13.1. And some of the first times I ran, I would run like 2 or 3 miles. I'm like, this was the longest I've ever run. I'm so out of breath. Like I'm drained. Like this, like giving all the different feedback like from the experience. And it was neat seeing the progression of like each week I would add like a half or a full mile more to my stats. And like each week or every other week I would try to do that. So like for week 1 I would go like 1 mile. Week 2, 1 mile, maybe like 1 mile and a quarter. And then week 3 I would be like 1 to 2 miles. And then, keep building on that as I felt more confident and wanted to push myself. And then sometimes I would back off, and this whole journey, which led me to where we are now. And we talked about this in a previous episode, but my God, like, let's just break down running let's just break it down real quick.
Sure.
So running, you need to make sure that, yes, your cardiovascular system, like your heart and your lungs are all pumping right, like making sure that everything's working well. So yes, cardio has some great benefits. Speaking, like when I say cardio, was like running, right? Running, biking, swimming. Let's just think like the baseline, like the basic stuffs, right? The basic things. Like there's also HIIT and all the different options for cardio. But let's just like call cardio like steady state cardio. So steady state cardio is just the thing that you're going to keep a steady pace for the most part over a longer period of time. So running, biking, maybe even swimming for some people, rowing,
yeah.
things like that are pretty steady state. You can find a rhythm and get into it. Climbing on the stair climbers, things like that.
Yeah.
What happens with a lot of people is we prioritize workout over training. And if you haven't listened to that before, like if you haven't listened to that, everyone listening in, like make sure you swing back and listen to that podcast. Prioritizing strength and making it a priority. Prioritizing strength being a priority, like literally redundant. But my point is, we have to start to separate working out versus training, and training with a purpose. So with steady state cardio, you find that you get into this rhythm and you go and you do it because you're thinking it needs to be a workout. So even with a lot of these things like Peloton, like you hop on your Peloton bike and sure you'll get like a good workout because you'll be left feeling sweaty and out of breath and accomplished, but you have to spend the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes on it. And then sometimes people, even a lot of our members I know have a Peloton, they'll do their Peloton bike workout and then they'll do like a Peloton strength workout. And I put air quotes in there, strength, because you're resistance training, whether it's body weight or whether it's with weights, there's resistance training. But in order to see actual progress, it needs to be progressive and personalized for what you're doing. All the workouts on like Peloton, and I'm really saying Peloton because it's an amazing company. I mean, it's an amazing experience from what our members hear and say, and a lot of people have it. Like, we're not knocking Peloton. We're just using Peloton.
There's definitely a place for it too.
Yes, there's a place for it too. But we're not knocking Peloton. What we are doing is making a statement that just steady state cardio as your only form of training is not going to serve you well. So back to my story.
Go for it.
We here as a whole prioritize strength, and so I want to live what we preach and teach what we preach and live it. I am someone who you've seen it. I have not negated or neglected my strength training. No. I have continued to do strength training, and we mentioned this in the past episodes. Like, I'm still lifting like heavy weights. I'm lifting my body weight or more in the major compound movements: squat, bench press, deadlift. Even rowing, I'm rowing my body weight, if not more. But it's not enough. It's not enough when your goals aren't aligned with strength training and cardio. If you're doing a little bit of both, it's not really going to line up well and give you the best outcome, because you won't be able to build muscle and burn fat at the same exact time. You won't be able to burn this and burn calories is like going to happen. But like, people think you have to burn fat. Anyway, I mean, before we get too far off on this, like this is going too far. Let me make sure to get back to the point.
That's okay. It was relevant.
Yes,
it was a little bit of a tangent, but we were relevant.
Relevant. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. So when we're talking about like running, my experience with running, I've always prioritized strength training. However, I've never been someone who have this experience. But both half marathons, after running those half marathons, left my knees, and specifically the joints of my knees, being in such incredible pain, like in so much pain. And I'm still running consistently, but I'm not running half marathons. I'm running 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles, but I'm running like 25, 35 miles per week since I've been training. So I've completed it, but man, my knees have never been in that much pain. And I've done powerlifting. Like, I've lifted weights beyond what some people at the gym, like some people here at the BOB, like couldn't even believe me that I said it until I had to show them the video that I lifted it. Yeah. But I've lost so much. So I've gained a lot. So I've gained a lot of like my cardio, like my cardiovascular system is like my endurance is like the highest, best it's ever been in my life. My strength is much lower, but how I feel physically in terms of like my body, it's so different. I've maintained the same amount of body fat over this past year. Mm-hmm. However, my weight has gone down because I'm just burning calories. And what I lost, we talked about, was my muscle. Like, I've lost 3 pounds of muscle mass, which for a lot of people, like 3 pounds doesn't sound like a lot. Like, if you only lost 3 pounds on a scale, you'd be like, oh, like I only lost 3 pounds. I've worked so hard, like over 3 pounds over a year. You'd be really upset that you've only lost 3 pounds. I am so upset that I did happen to lose 3 pounds of skeletal muscle mass. Yeah. And that my body fat is pretty much the same as it was when I had 3 pounds more of muscle. Mm-hmm. which, man, there's a whole new tangent I can go on about like eating and how that like that reflects with strength training and how you can eat more. And so my knees, oh man, my knees are, and they're still not 100%. They're like, I would say they're back like 98% back. Maybe that's a little, maybe like 95.
It's a pretty quick rebound.
Pretty quick rebound.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that has to do with strength training. And I do believe that a lot of that has to do with strength training. And I stretched, like I spent a lot of time stretching yesterday. So I ran the half marathon 2 days ago. So we give timeline here. So 2 days ago, I ran the half marathon. The day of, my knees were destroyed. I walked, not necessarily by choice, but I kind of did. I walked about 5 miles after running my half marathon. And I think that helped, one, with recovery, but secondly, I did a lot of stretching after that, and then just laid, I just like sat around the whole time, just let my body recover. I slept longer. I slept like 10 hours, which was fantastic. And now I feel better. Like I needed some time to recover. Yeah. So I feel better.
You got signals from your body to like take a break.
Signals from my body to take a break.
Yeah. It's important, I think, especially as coaches, we encourage people all the time to reflect on their own strength training or their own journeys in fitness. And I think it's even more important as coaches that we reflect. And so hearing you walk me through, right? Everybody, all of our listeners, so us, but walk us through that journey of what it took to get you to that point, how the events actually went, both of those half marathons. And you didn't even really touch on this whole like split thing, which was kind of what I wanted to.
Yeah.
If you don't, maybe share a little bit about that, 'cause that's interesting.
So like the first half marathon I did was in Baltimore, the Baltimore half marathon. I ran that. It was just one continuous half marathon. You ran the 13.1 miles without stopping. You can choose to stop, whatever. Interesting though, the dynamics. So like running through like downtown area of Baltimore, like you ran through like the residential area too. And so it was an interesting experience in that there were like people on the corners and like sometimes you'd have like DJs set up and like people playing like drums outside. It was a really cool experience. And like you could like get your water breaks and things like that along the run. Like sometimes people were handing out candy and whatever, like gummies or power drinks and things like that, like all different stuff. But in the Philadelphia one, so I ran the Rocky Balboa Run, and the Rocky Run is actually 2 different runs, and they made it into 3 options. And let me explain this. So there's the 5K, so that's 3.1 miles. There's the 10 mile, and then there's the Italian Stallion half marathon. So in order to complete the Italian Stallion half marathon, you have to complete the 5K and the 10 mile. So what I did was the start time was 7 a.m. So the guns went off at 7 a.m. You start running, you run the first one, so with the 5K, run through that, and then once you're done, the start time for the 10 mile was 7:55. So I ran it, and I got done at like 7:30. And I took my time with it too. I like ran nice and steady, nice and easy. Yeah. It was like 10:28 or 7:28 or 7:30. Ran it, and then like just had to stand around and like stood at the starting line again. And like, man, I was like shaking my legs. Yeah. I was trying to do some fast and loose stuff. I was like doing some like active like calisthenics in place. And then like you start and run. And what I didn't like was that like there was a big downtime, like big gap of downtime. And like, I think that if I had continued just to run, I would have been able to push myself a little more and a little differently, and maybe avoided some of the pain I was feeling earlier on because of like the adrenaline rush and everything else that was coming on. Of course, we're gonna be mindful with it, and like I'm mindful about it. And if you're listening in here as a member, or if you're listening in here as anybody, be mindful. Listen to your body. Like Nick, we talk about this all the time, but it's one thing to push yourself past your limits, but it's another thing to push yourself into a painful place and to continue in that pain. Yeah. In a situation like this, which again, I'm not proud to say it, but like I pushed into the pain. My knees were just like, they caught up to me. The first half marathon I ran in Baltimore, I didn't feel the knee pain until about like mile 11, like between 10 and 11. I started to feel it. And then I would just like kind of start to like jog, walk, and just kind of get through it. Without going too hard. Like if it really, really started to get to a place where like I just couldn't bear the pain anymore, I would just walk. And I would walk until I felt like I was ready to start jogging, and I'll go slow. And this time around, I felt that around mile like, so if I did that first 3 miles, I felt fine. And then I started up. So what would have been equivalent to around like mile 5 or 6, so only like mile 2 or 3, I started to feel it, and I was like, man, this is not good. So I walked more frequently, and I'll be interested to see what my time is, because I did a lot more walking than I did in the previous one. Mm-hmm. But at the end, I was able to finish, and I felt very proud. I actually felt, it's really interesting though, having all those, like all that adrenaline and stuff going and pumping and like really pushing through it. You push more, I think you produce more. And then when I crossed the finish line, it was this really interesting feeling. I didn't even see Lynn yet at that time. Lynn was there. And for everyone who's listening, Lynn's my wife. If you didn't realize that or didn't know that, if you're listening in here from any other reason, hi, thanks for joining us. But she was there at the finish line. I just didn't know where she was. But I crossed the finish line, and I was met with this really emotional, like I almost started crying.
Yeah, dude.
I almost started crying, and like I got like really teared up, and like nothing came down my cheek. But I definitely felt that like rush of like emotion.
Yeah.
That I finished, and that I finished even despite the pain. So like I was really proud. And it was also uncontrolled. Like it wasn't like a mindset of like, I'm so proud of myself. It just like came on. I'm like, holy crap. It was a really interesting, big feeling that I had. So anyway, the conclusion to these stories is that I can better relate. And I want to talk about it a little bit about like, we don't need to talk about prioritizing strength training overall and making it, because we have a whole podcast with that. So you guys need to swing back. Yeah, people need to swing back and check that out if you haven't listened to it already. But we talk about the importance of strength training and the benefits of it, and like why we want to do these things, and make it more of a routine versus like making it a task. But now that I've done it, I'm better equipped to speak not only with authority in terms of like having experience as a strength coach for a decade, but also now having lived through it.
Yeah.
I can speak on it. And it's not just like that I happened to like register for it and just go do it. I trained for 8 months. Like I was doing it for about 8 months of time. I was like running consistently. Mm-hmm. So I had those ups and downs of pains, and I had ups and downs of like fatigue and understanding it all. And there's so much more than what people think. And I really want to dive into this idea of like when we meet with runners, a lot of runners come in here, and like we've heard this, right? Runners come in, and I'm talking about specifically adult runners over 40. Like, yes, you can be under 30, you can be under 40, but specifically to the ones 40 and over, when hormone production starts to change up, when you've been through life quite a bit and you have some aches and pains, most likely. The adults over 40 who prioritize running over strength training, we need to take a step back and really look at what's going on from a physiological standpoint, right? We want to look at what we're doing. Too many times we hear like, oh, like I run 3, 4, 5 days a week. Like my legs are strong. I don't need to worry about my legs. Let's work on my upper body. Yeah. I just want to work on my upper body. I want to work on my arms. I want to work on my chest. Like it's always the places that you need the least amount of training. Especially someone who's an avid runner. Avid runners need to be in here squatting, need to be doing lunges, need to be doing something in like the transverse plane. So like maybe some lateral lunges on like a TRX.
Yeah.
We need to be doing some hinging movements, some deadlifts, some single leg movements, some balance, a lot of balance movements. We need to be doing things that are going to prioritize posterior chain. So like rows, like
support the posture.
Yeah. Other than my knees, the sore, and this is both half marathons, this is both times, this is in all the training, the area of my body. You want to venture to guess? You may know the answer. Where do you think on my body I felt the most pain? Like soreness.
Other than your knees?
Other than my knees. Soreness. Ankles, yes. So another joint area.
I'm just thinking about your previous, some of the things that you've had in the past.
But like taking all that stuff aside, like what do you think as a strength coach, what would you expect to be like the spot?
Expect?
Yeah.
Like not thinking about you?
Sure.
Lower back.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. So for me, it was my upper back, mid back, like my whole T-spine, like the whole thoracic spine area. Yeah. That right there. And still, we're sitting here now, I'm like trying to pull back and I feel like sore. I haven't even lifted. I did rows on Tuesday last week. So like for people who are watching, like that's almost a week ago. That was 6 days ago. So we as strength and conditioning specialists, coaches, professionals, fitness professionals, when we speak to our members, and this is important. When we speak to you, the members, to people who are runners, people coming in on the trials, if you are someone who is a runner over 40 and you have your goals, which is fine, your goal, like the goal is, I want to improve my upper body strength. Please understand that even if your goal is like, even though their goal is to have upper body strength, we're going to still continue to prioritize lower body and core.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And posterior chain, like that, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah. I know I don't want to beat a dead horse here.
Beat it.
With talking about resilience and all, because we've talked about that a zillion times in the past. It builds resilience, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there's a very obvious reason too, other than the fact that, you know, a lot of people will think that they're good. They say, I'm good, man. I'm good with my legs. I'm totally good. Don't worry about them. Seriously, just look at my biceps. Like, let's just work up top. I'm like, I get it. But strength training is going to expose your muscles to a very different type of adaptation. And you want that strength. As a runner, you should want that. You should be coming in here, instead of thinking about upper body, go, you know, I'm a runner. I run a lot. But I would love to strengthen my legs here in strength training, because that's going to get me to run even better with more resilience, right? So my joints won't hurt. My muscles aren't going to bother me. Like all these different things that come up. But apart from that, like you had mentioned, man, the posterior chain work is great. You're building resilience, yes, but you're building better posture, better muscles that support your posture. Mm-hmm. And while think about it. When you're running, you are, in order to move forward, in theory, you should have some kind of lean or something that's kind of driving you forward, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Some kind of something that propels you or helps you accelerate in some kind of way forward. And it's so critical, instead of just thinking about your body sticking straight up in the air and taking a big stride out and landing on the ground, it's so critical to understand that, because all these other movements we do, these hinge movements and these squat patterns, support that. They reinforce it so that when the time comes for you to run, and you're talking about compression, right? When every step you take, your body is under compression. And so again, having the joint support, having the muscles to support all those motions is so critical. Yeah. Anyway, back to you, because you were talking about.
That's it, man. You hit the nail on the head. My upper back and mid back are so sore, as if I had lifted like that entire 2 hours of running, but I didn't. And it's because I would catch myself, and I have a very good understanding of like running posture and like posture itself. I get it. I'm also human. Like that's a big part that I think people tend to forget. Like, we're also human.
Yeah.
Like, even though we teach and preach this stuff and we try to live by the code, so to speak, we're still humans who have struggles, who have pains, who have strength issues and complications and challenges, mentally, physically, everything. But when I was running a handful of times, I would find myself like my shoulders rounding forward, and like my like head going down, and I would have to like mentally check myself and like pull myself back up and like run with a little bit of a posture, like pull my shoulders down and back, because oh my gosh, they keep falling forward. And they would shrug up and go forward, and I would have to pull them back down, pull my lats down and back, and like fight against it. And then it would happen again. I would fight against it. And it's that mindfulness and awareness in my body that allowed me to, I think, continue to make sure that I wasn't having like any more pain than I already was having.
Yeah.
And then the recovery aspect of it, like more water, more food, more protein, more carbs, and then stretching. Like, I spent a lot of time stretching and holding long 1 minute full time stretches multiple times.
Well, I think the other thing we're missing here is the fact that this was a competition, dude. Like, you were competing in something. It's not like your everyday run. You don't go out and do a half marathon every single time you run.
Right.
You trained for it.
Right.
But when the time came and you competed, it's okay for some of these things to come up. It's okay. We're doing our best to try and make you more resilient. You were right. You're in here strength training. I know you were, because we train together every day.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, you're building that resilience so that when this time came, or when the time, whatever, right? You know what I mean.
I do.
When the time came, you could be in the best position possible to lower to mitigate your risk of injury, to help feel a little bit more comfortable after the run and all those things. And I think you did a good job of that. You know, I'm sure there are going to be expert runners who listen to this and they say, well, I wonder about ... Yeah, but the truth is, you nailed it, man. You're like, we're human. Yeah, we're human.
Yeah.
Like, errors come up, and this is the joy of what we talked about in our last podcast: training versus working out, and that these things make you more mindful. I'd be willing to bet if you had another half marathon in a year, your training from now till then would look probably a little bit different, right? I'm sure there are things that you would go, oh, okay, knowing that these were the areas in my body that weren't as strong as the other parts, I'm going to try and strengthen them or make myself in some kind of way a little bit more adaptable to those areas. And I bet you'd have different results.
I agree.
I'm willing to bet. Not that I'm trying to challenge you.
Dude, yeah. I was like, whoa, what? About to step up that challenge too.
It's like, wait, ding, challenge.
I want to. That thought crossed my mind, and I haven't put a full commitment to whether or not I'm going to hang up my running shoes, so to speak, like retire from running, or if I want to continue on that path and journey, because there is that sense of accomplishment. There is that, like, man, that feeling that I was saying, like, I can't fully explain the feeling that it feels to cross the finish line, having known I completed it. And then also the automatic emotion that rushed in and, like, almost wanting to cry, but I didn't cry.
It's okay if you did, man.
I didn't cry.
I cried this weekend.
It's okay.
I didn't run a half marathon, but I cried.
Yeah, that's all right. You missed me.
I
know. You wanted to see me. I know.
Yeah.
But it's important, and then we actually, funny enough about the crying part, we tell the boys it's okay to cry. Like, crying's fine. It's just, understanding the emotions behind it is just the important
why
part.
Are you crying?
Like, or like what's causing it, or like what is it? It's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. But anyway, I didn't cry though, because I don't cry.
Enough with this.
I'm super manly, and that happens to be what everyone knows about me, is that I'm extremely masculine, and I don't embrace my feminine side at all. But I do. It's a joke. I do.
I was gonna say, are you joking?
Yeah, totally a joke. Totally a joke. You know what I think would be... Wait. Fun fact for everybody. I was a stay-at-home... You know this, but, like, this is for everyone who didn't know this. I was a stay-at-home dad for the first 3 years of Joey's life. And that happened to be the first year of Johnny's life. I was a full-time stay-at-home dad while getting this place off the ground. And part of that was I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was vacuuming, I was doing all the things that I'm doing. Big air quotes here.
If you're not watching
big air quotes here, the traditional women's job thing. Like, that's not what our belief is. That's not what my belief is. And I hate saying that, like actually giving that power. There's no power to it. But, like, it's unacceptable to me that when men, specifically men, I'm going to call out the men, when they, and women too, but when they, like, say, like, oh, that's a women's job. Like, that's my wife does that. My wife does that. Like, that's her job. Like, no, I do the laundry. I do the cooking. I do the cleaning. I take care of the kids. I change the diapers. I do everything else. And then I also do the other stuff, right? I grow the business and freaking be a great supportive husband and spouse. But anyway, before I go too far on the tangent, the point I wanted to make, the point I want to make, and I hope some people are shaking their head when they hear this, and I think you are too, is that no matter what role you play in life, you can always make yourself better. And so as a stay-at-home dad, I was learning to understand myself and my kids and make sure that I was teaching them exactly what they want to know, what they need to know, but understanding that the roles, things like that. So talk about crying and stuff. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to do strength training. It's okay to do cardio. It's okay to do running and biking. It's okay to do all these things. Whatever floats your boat is a great thing to do. However, if we're talking about resilience, and we're talking about building a healthy human being and a body that's resilient, strength training is the answer. So go listen to that other podcast. And today's our topic was just to talk a little more about the running aspect and, like, my experience with it. And so I hope that people, if you're like, so I'm going to look over here at the camera and talk to you guys at home, wherever you're listening, but, like, where are you in your journey with everything? Are you running? Are you doing the Peloton thing? Are you doing biking? Are you swimming? Are you rowing? Are you doing strength training? Are you doing strength training that is resistance-based strength training that has a coach that's telling you how to do and how to move it correctly? Or are you going through machine movements? Are you going through just workouts with high repetitions and low weights? What kind of exercises are you doing? I want to know these things. We want to know them so we can get a conversation going. Just because we have a training facility, just because people pay us to train them, doesn't mean we can't give you, we can't help you and give you other things to consider and advice around fitness. That's what we do. That's what we do. So comment in this video. And if you're listening right now and you're driving, don't do that now because you're driving. Please be safe. But we want to hear from you. So leave a review, comment whatever it is below. Let us know what your thoughts are about strength training, about cardio, and what you love, what you enjoy. And if you want to give us some more thoughts to talk about, or things you want us to hear about, or things you want to hear about from us. Yeah, sounds good. Pretty short one, pretty quick one today.
Yeah,
it's good.
Good reflective one. I really like that. I enjoyed that a lot.
It's important. We got to reflect on our own journey and understand where we're coming from and what we're working on. But statement for me right now, an official statement is I'm not necessarily completely done with running. However, I don't plan on doing any more running for the short term, at least in the upcoming months for here. I want to focus a little more on my strength, a little more on my mobility, a little more on my stability, specifically with my ankle, and really try to get through the limitations I have physically speaking with my ankle. So, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, man.
Let's do a little plug. Let's pay some bills.
Right.
If you're hanging out with us, make sure you check out BentOnBetter.com. Swing over to Instagram. You can follow us at Instagram. It's at BentOnBetter. We are on Facebook. We are on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. We're on Apple iTunes. We're all over the place now. You can just Google it. Seriously, just Google BentOnBetter. And whatever platform you decide to go on, whatever one you use, great. We'll welcome it. We want to hear from you. But if you're looking to get started with your strength training routine, if you're looking to make a change in your life, if you're someone who is an avid runner over 40 who's suffering from pain in your knees and your ankles and your back and your neck, whatever it is, it's time to make a change. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So don't be insane. Be smart. Come out here, work with us here at BentOnBetter. We'll help you. And if you're not local, that's okay. We can work with you virtually as well. One-on-one, two-on-one, or in our small group setting, virtually. So there's our little plug for our paying the bills option. All right.
Gotta keep the lights on, man.
Gotta keep the lights on.
Food on the table.
Yep. Cool. So see you next time. Bye.